Next up, we're going to learn about manually tweaking UVs of objects. This is supposed to be a book with a bookmark, and I'm just going to go ahead and hide the bookmark for now and just deal with the book. As usual, I've gone in and made a project for my book. I've got my Maya file sitting in the scenes folder, and in the source images, I've got a texture. Now I'm going to make the model and the texture available for you guys, and I want you to try this exercise out in class. That is what my texture of the book looks like, and I need for this to wrap around the book that I have. Now let's try the techniques that we've used so far. Let me start out by selecting the book and giving it a new material. Blend, let's say, because the book has a little bit of a shine, matte_book. No reflections of the book, but a slight bit of shine, if you will. And in the color tab, I'm going to attach a file and throw in my texture. And the texture by no means is actually wrapping around the book the way I wanted it to. So this is absolutely wrong. This needs to be fixed to actually go into each one of these faces. And you can see that there are so many different faces. To actually go into each one of these faces and sort of not only do like a planar map or a cylindrical map or an automatic mapping of some sort, but also to make sure that the seams look just fine is going to be absolutely crazy. So instead of doing an automatic mapping technique, in this particular case, I'm going to show you guys how to do a manual UV mapping setup for this model. And so for that, I'm going to select the object, click on Window, and go to UV Texture Editor. And so that's my UV texture editor, and you can see that I can see the texture over here. I can darken the texture a little bit by clicking on these options right here. Either I can show or hide the texture, or I can darken it or undarken it. So okay, let me keep this over here. To be able to tweak UVs, I'm going to start, and I know that you guys don't know what tweaking UVs is and what exactly moving of UVs is. I'm going to start out by deleting the UV. So select the object, click on polygons or whatever structure it is that you're seeing over here. Just know that these are what UVs are, and this is going to become much clearer very soon. So just go on polygons and say delete UVs. Now the object has no UVs. No UVs basically means that there is no wrapping of the texture. The model is not holding on to the texture at all, so you won't be able to see any texture here at all. And now I'm going to start out by creating UVs one by one. Let's start out by selecting this particular face. Okay, let me move this out. And what I want to do is do a planar map, and I am going to be projecting in the Z direction, like so. And you can see that the entire image, entire texture has been put onto that particular face. That's clearly not what I want, and so I'm going to be tweaking that. So let me bring in my UV texture editor, and if you guys remember, F9 to go into the vertex mode, F11 to go into the F10 to go into the edge mode, F11 to go into the face mode, and F12 to get into the UV mode. So now I can have UVs that I can select, which are basically like vertices if you actually see. Their functionality is completely different. You won't be able to move your UVs in 3D space, but you can move them here in your UV texture editor. You won't be able to move them here in 3D space. So I want you to see what happens. Let me get rid of this window so you guys can actually see a bit more of this. To be able to select these UVs, scale them down. Are you guys able to see these UVs? These are basically 4 points. And now I am literally controlling which part of the image. Say for example, I just want this red part. So I can move these like so. And you see what's happening? That part Those are my UVs. That's my face. So really what these UVs are a 2D representation of what that object looks like in here. But obviously this is not how I want it to be, so I'm just going to tweak it a little bit. Let's make sure that we have, this is supposed to be this side right over here, and that is supposed to be the other side, which is on here. If you can see, because these two UVs are selected. Now, watching this is a little, it's going to make you a little disoriented, and I hope that you guys are able to cope with it. So here's what I'm going to do. Keep this one here. Move this in here. Move this in here, here, and here. And there you go. Actually, this needs to be the center, so let me just move all of this here in the center. I'm going to do the same thing here next. Select this part right here, create planar mapping, and to figure out what projection I'm going to be going with, it's going to be X. Project it, and there are more UVs. So if you actually look at those UVs again, F12 to get into the UVs. And let me just scale those down. Oh, my bad. And now you should be able to see it. You should be able to see how this particular face, there you go. Just move these in. Are you guys seen it? Yeah. And move this out here. Extend that out. Extend this in here, which is nice. Let me do the same thing over here. Planar mapping. Going to UVs. Select all those UVs. And scale it down. I'm going to rotate it like so. Scale it down and keep this in here. Move this down here. This is noodling, adjusting, to call it noodling. So there you go. I've got the pages done pretty well. Now if I just select the object, you see that there is this discontinuation right over here. It doesn't feel like the pages are getting connected, which means the seams are not matching. So I'm simply going to select the object, select that particular edge, press F10, and you see what's happening when I select that edge. You see how two edges are getting selected here, although I'm just selecting one edge over here. That's because this is a 2D representation of that particular edge has been divided into two edges here in the UV setup to accommodate two different faces. So what I want is for those to sort of sew. I want to sew those two edges right here, and for that I'm going to click on, I believe, this right here. Move and sew the selected edges to make it one edge here. And now if I deselect it, you should be able to see a continuation right there. Let me do that here as well. I'm just going to go ahead and select this edge, and I'm gonna, once again, I've got two edges over here. Let me sew them. Ooh, and I don't know why this just move this out. There you go. And let's make it a little better. Let's make sure that the pages stay inside. Like that. And now I have manually worked on just that part right there, just the pages. And you can continue to do all of this here as well. I'm not going to do it for the video, but that is manual tweaking of UVs.